Anyone can cook.
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 Anyone can cook. A tagline discussed so much in the film Ratatouille that it challenges almost every character's preconceptions on cooking. That couldn't be truer for the villain of the movie. And no, I'm not talking about Skinner. That man seems to be just as bad of a chef as he is a franchise owner. But no, I'm talking about the scary figure of Anton Ego. He appears at around the halfway point of the movie, right when things for Remy and Linguini are starting to look up. The scene introducing him brings a crazy presence on its own on showing this menacing figure. But he seems to find a soft spot in the end, when Remy serves him the ratatouille and he immediately becomes one of the film's more complex characters. Many people have theorized over the years trying to understand his backstory a bit more. So now that we're on the topic, movie theories are some of the most fun things I've seen on the internet. Some are crazy and outlandish, like Kevin from Home Alone growing up to be the Jigsaw Killer, or Jar Jar Binks being a Sith Lord, while some are a lot more believable and nuanced, like that of The Rock being a sequel to Sean Connery's Bond films. However, the theory that has interested me the most, as we circle back to Ratatouille, is the one focusing on Ego. More specifically, that the grandmother in the beginning of this movie is actually Ego's mother. I know this theory was actually disproved by the director Brad Bird, but it's still one of the most popular theories of all time, and I think there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that works towards its favor. There have been additional, more in-depth theories as well. I saw something about Ego and Gusteau being long-lost brothers, but that might be a bit too much and I just don't want to discuss that. But the Ego grandma theory is simple and can offer a lot of room to grow the stories of some characters. Plus, it's just a theory, so let's just have fun with this. Anyways, what I'd like to do today is not really try to prove the theory. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I'm rather interested to see that if it were true, how could this actually add to Ego's character? What can we learn about Ego, from his personality, to his outlook on life, to even his view on rats, when looking at the fact that the grandma is Ego's mother. Also, I know her name is Mabel, but I'm going to refer to her as the grandma because that's what I always saw her as. Anyway, what we will do is try and decipher the story within the story being told alongside Remy's in Ratatouille. We will see how this theory brings more depth to a villainous character like Ego. So first, let's discuss each character's personality traits and how the grandma could have had an effect on Ego. To do that, let's take a look at the grandma herself, as we really only have a few scenes with her in the beginning and not a single piece of dialogue. To me, she gives off senile old woman vibes, withering away and spiteful at life, but there are still hints of some personality in there. I mean, like her, the home seems to be withering away on this outside, but when you look on the inside, it is actually very organized. Everything seems to be in the proper places, and she seems to value cleanliness and elegance. I mean, this is something that she seems to pass on not only to Ego, but Remy as well. On top of that, it's clear that there is a large love for cooking, based on the amount of spices she has and the Gusteau cookbook. Also, knowing the fact that Remy has been inside the house countless times shows she is a cook, and a good one at that. I mean, how else could Remy have gotten exposed to all that cooking knowledge? Finally, one other thing to analyze is her reaction when she sees Remy and later the whole rat colony. She immediately jumps into action, pulling out a shotgun to gun Remy down, as well as a gas mask with poisons. Plus, we see that she also poisons garbage, so she knows that she has a rat problem. This would mean she is hyper aware and equipped. Also, the fact that she chases after the rats even after they escaped her house shows her being intensely aggressive and determined. So, how could this all translate to Ego? What could he have gotten exposed with growing up? I mean, sure, he probably is reminiscing about good food as she is a good cook, but beyond that, we got a mother who is uber organized, verging on OCD, as well as intense, hyper aware, and determined. These are things that can be incredibly scary and traumatic for a kid, but they can also prepare them for the real world. I mean, let's look at Ego. He is also super clean, also organized, also intense, also hyper aware, also determined, and he even has that drive to be that negative critic. Which brings us to how this could have shaped Ego's outlook on life. Based on the flashback, Ego seemed to have grown up in a very impoverished home. This is added by the fact that Ratatouille is even mentioned as a peasant dish.
Ratatouille? It's a peasant dish. Are you sure you want to serve this to Ego?
Yet it is the very thing that changes Ego's mood at the end of the movie. He is obviously reminiscing about the good old days when he was a child, and the best part about his childhood were those home-cooked meals from mom. I mean, think about it. Why would Ego want to be a critic of food? He clearly doesn't just like food, he loves it. It's a passion of his. His house also just being in the middle of nowhere, but on the outskirts of Paris itself, shows that Ego probably dreamed of moving from here and making something of himself. However, based on his negative and down demeanor and that of his mom as well, and how they both give off lonely vibes, I would argue that they most likely had a falling out. I mean, let's go back to that shooting scene again. The grandma's rash shooting at the rats, that she even crumbles her own house and ends up exposing the whole colony, shows she is volatile, crazy, and can cause drama and fallout damage. It's possible that her anger could have been taken out on Ego. All these things added up so much that they both lost trust in people, and Ego moved on and never returned. Ego is probably not even his name, but an alias. I mean, this flashback showed him as a kid only, not a collection of memories of years of his life with his mom, so he clearly has resentments and memories of those times. Ego doesn't share his whole character or personality, and seems to be too proud to acknowledge his past or see shame, so he bottles it up. It's also extremely possible, due to this, that he became a critic as a spiteful action. I mean, someone so angry at the world that they devoted their whole life to being a very negative and scary critic, especially as they grew up with food, seems very likely. Plus, his personality of being determined, aware, and equipped makes him a trusted source of critiquing. Now, even though this is a bit of a stretch, the grandma still cooks a lot, but also watches cooking channels on TV. And as we saw from the beginning of the movie, those channels include comments from him, which means that over time, it's possible that the grandma partly watches hoping to see him on TV, hoping to see her son and the man he's become, as that is her only contact with him. She is so spiteful and angry, taking it out on Remy and his colony, which, to be fair, I would also be mad if I found a rat colony living in my house. But I don't know if mad enough that I'd chase them down to the river as they escaped. Who knows, maybe she just really wanted that cookbook back. This leads us to the last point, their relationship with rats, and one of the biggest questions I had when watching this movie. Why in the world does Ego not freak out when he learns a rat cooked? I mean, literally every other character does. The whole staff walks out and Skinner just is in utter shock. Why does he have so much trust in him and his colony that he invests in another restaurant where Remy is the cook? And no, it's not because he knows Remy. That'd be a crazy answer to all this. It's important to remember the average life for a rat is roughly around 2 years, not something crazy like 12 or 13. Thank you, Prisoner of Azkaban. So Remy wasn't alive when Ego was a child, or probably even later, but the rat colony has probably been settled there a long time. I mean, look at their setup. So not only was Remy always exposed to cooking, but Ego was always exposed to rats. His reaction at the end was perplexing, where rats didn't freak him out because he had seen them before. I mean, let's take a look at this discovery scene. Ego doesn't cause a scene, rather taking in all the information methodically, then thanking them for the meal, then contemplating all night before releasing a raving review. Let's address these points. His actions of not reacting impulsively shows his biggest difference from that of his mom. He may have taken in the parts of her he wanted, like organization, cleanliness, preparedness, and love for food, but refused to take in her impulsive action, something that scarred him as a kid and caused this fallout. He is now not one to quickly judge unless he takes in all the information. Then he believes he is right until proven otherwise because of his, large ego. See what I did there? But that still doesn't explain his soft spot for rats. Well, my theory is that Ego and the grandma's disagreement and fallout probably happened over rats. Ego seemed like a lonely and sensitive person, which means that he was probably kind and caring towards animals. This is a common trend seen in people that are lonely and don't have many friends anyways. Rats had probably been around their home before. I mean, they are living in the middle of nowhere, cooking a lot, and the trash is poisoned. His mom, being angry and aggressive towards them, probably hurt him. It might also be an additional resentment on how different his mother used to be when she was younger and how she has changed in time before their fallout. Essentially, their disagreement over rats and approach to them probably led to some fallout. I mean, rats probably held some kind of sentimental value that Ego ends up investing in one, while the grandma's extreme reaction to them by pretty much blowing up her house shows intense feelings too. Or maybe it's because it's a Pixar movie, who knows. We end with his time at Gusteau's and his reflection. Ego stayed up all night trying to figure out what to write. He was probably now reflecting because something clicked in him that made him start reevaluating his life. I mean, from the dinner being Ratatouille to finding out rats were cooking, probably made him reevaluate everything. I mean, he is stunned because maybe he sees parts of himself in Remy and Linguini because of the connection to his grandma and where he came from. In terms of Linguini, his notion was challenged with the idea that, like him, not all are destined or anyone can cook, just that Linguini accepted it and let Remy take him in a new direction. Meanwhile, in terms of Remy himself, it reminds him that humble beginnings like that of a rat can show talent, I think Remy opened up a part of Ego that he was locking away. It opened up his thoughts and resentments about his mother, his upbringing, and why he was a critic in the first place. So much so that after all his contemplating, Ego decides to reflect and change as a person, confronting his demons. He kind of gives up being a critic, writing with his heart and giving a stellar review to not only a rat, but a restaurant he had beaten down for years. Ego finds a new purpose in the end because of seeing the true meaning of the motto and how a cook can originate from anywhere, being someone who sees potential and eventually invests. I can almost guarantee you that Ego probably goes back to his home and reconnects with his mother. There is a sense of irony though, being that the rat that made him reevaluate his life and make amends for his resentments came from the place he was raised in seeing the cooking of his mom, which inspired so much passion in him. That is a sense of a higher power coming into play to repair their relationship. But hey, that's just a theory, a film theory. Okay, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Next time you watch Ratatouille, take a look at the story being told beyond the rat controlling a human with hair strands. A simple story between a mother and her lost son, both of which became estranged and isolated from the world. A story about a man facing his inner demons, reflecting and deciding to embrace his past and move on. All of it stemming from a dish called Ratatouille and the idea of anyone can cook. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and please check out my channel as I am rebranding. Thank you again, and goodbye, everyone.